We are doing about 750 million euro of process volume a month.
Today's episode is with a guy called Sofian, who runs a company called Nexpay. It is a crypto-focused payments provider.
It's ethical question, whether or not somebody wants to deal with that and what are the optics. But it's...
But when you start making fuckloads of money, then the optics and ethics it's a very relative thing. It starts moving very quickly.
I look at this adult industry as kind of elephant in the room.
Right. And we spoke about details of how to make cross-border payments, things like miscoding, things like handling payments for porn industry, and a bunch of other topics.
It's illegal. You don't do that. Sure. And if you do that, you're going to lose your license and
go to jail,
going to pay fines, go to jail. But nobody wants to talk about it or say it out loud.
I can admit I watch porn. I mean, no problem.
I think this is the best outcome of this.
Good day, sir.
Good day to you as well.
You are an international guest, but you actually live in Latvia for 12 years, right?
That's right, 12 and counting, and I'm very happy about that.
And you also actually speak Latvian. He also speaks Latvian.
So we might switch to Latvian to tease Sofian.
What do you do?
I am running a financial institution called Nexpay. I'm the CEO of the company, and we are involved heavily in financial services. B2B payments primarily for all sort of industries, but also quite recently our sister company has gotten a local MiCA license, which allows us to do digital asset services.
Latvian company, yeah. The brand is the same.
Oh, it's Nexpay and Nextdesk. So these are two sister companies,
Nextdesk,
and they work together. So that's what I do. That's what takes a lot of time during the day for me.
So for a regular viewer that is not from the crypto industry, not from finance, you say you're running a financial institution. What does it mean? Can you explain, like in simple terms, what service product your company does?
So overall, for outside viewers who are not involved, if you are buying different things online, you're paying for services, buying for digital goods, purchasing anything in digital space, you're paying to some companies, right? These companies have to be banked somewhere, and the more complex service they're providing, the bigger likelihood that regular, what we call legacy banks, won't be touching them and won't be dealing with their accounts. So often companies like ours, we build this B2B payments infrastructure that allows these companies to receive money from their end consumers. So it can happen that if a person from the street is buying something online, the transfer may just go through us.
Yeah.
As we have quite a strong local presence, but nobody really sees us because we are the background of it. We are the infrastructure.
Payment rails, yeah.
That's right.
How would you say you're different, or how you compete with a number of other EMIs, the electronic money institutions, other payment service providers? Do you have a niche? Is it by size? How do you compete?
I think we all are slightly different, even though to a certain extent the product could look the same way.
Yeah.
But many of us focus on their own niche. Some are providing primarily operational accounts with cards and doing payroll. Some are doing B2B infrastructure payments like we do. Some are focused only on particular industry. Our niche that we're coming from is that we've been banking the unbanked, which are the any crypto companies that were working around Europe since 2016, 17.
So those are like crypto exchanges, mining companies?
Primarily those, but also not only crypto. You're talking about lending companies, you're talking about anything more complex, so we're there. But I think if I'm to name one core industry we're coming from, it is digital assets, where back in the day when you wanted to buy Bitcoin, for example, and you tried to do it using one of your local accounts here, they would probably block that transaction.
Sure.
And it's both for consumers and companies. So once we kind of had the same problem on another business of ours, and the EMI license idea came from the fact that we wanted to solve the problem for ourselves.
Yeah.
At the same time, we solved it for many other peers in the industry. So we started off from being the crypto-friendly banking provider.
So can I repeat in my own words to make sure I understood your story? So the story of the company, rather, that so initially you were dealing with crypto and you had something where you would make money as a crypto company, I don't know if it's trading or exchange or something, you had problems dealing with the banks. The banks would not want to touch you because it was very unregulated early and on and so on. So you wanted to first solve the ability to make payments, receive payments as a crypto focused or native company first. And once you created that functionality through getting a license, then you started outsourcing that as a service to other third-party, basically, businesses.
Exactly like that.
Okay.
So solving our own issue, and by the same time solving the issue of many other people in the market.
And you pivoted, therefore, to becoming primarily a payments company, or you still do something primarily on the crypto exchange or business or crypto trading side?
So I think you can call it that we pivoted, and I think in the business it's very important that you spot trends that are bigger than your own company or your own kind of region. Yeah. And the trend that we've seen is when we were dealing with crypto trading back in the day, that was the time when the crypto giants were coming up. Binance, Kraken, Bitstamp, all the big guys with millions put in marketing. And we thought to ourselves that how can we compete with that with local resources? Like marketing-wise, that's impossible.
You can't.
You cannot. So we saw the chance for us to rather kind of pivot and shift towards payments, still retaining the same industry interest, but actually doing the payments. And at that time, that was the niche. And that's what allowed us to get hundreds of business clients who needed that kind of services. So yeah. But in terms of crypto, we're still around it. Yeah. Our sister company Nexdesk has received MiCA license in December.
Can you explain a little bit MiCA? What is MiCA and what's the
overall,
license?
If your business operated in crypto until, let's say, end of last year, it was pretty much gray area because there was no unified European regulation. Every country had its own rules that differed from one to another. There was no possibility of passporting your services across European Union. And European-based lawmakers, they decided to unify that, which on one hand, when you talk to crypto enthusiasts, it kind of centralizes and grants control to central banks and governance over this system. But on the other hand, if you want to scale that business, you need to have regulatory affairs sorted out. And by that, you can go through and increase on adoption and build much more in the space. Otherwise, it was just more of a gray area. But we're out of the gray area, and we are one of the two companies that received that license. So MiCA, it's market in crypto regulation. And yeah, we can legally deal with crypto products here in Latvia and all EU, thanks to the license that was issued by Latvia's Banka last December.
Did you also have to pay for that license, or was it just like, how did you get?
You always have to pay for.
How much did you have to pay?
It was insignificant. I think that the license fees are not so high. What is high is the cost of the lawyers, the preparation, the substance, employees you have to build up to prove to the local regulator that, hey, we are mature enough, we are ready. And I think that's the biggest issue and obstacle for so many of those crypto projects, that they have great idea, they have great product, it works on some smart contracts, but they are not able to show also the maturity items to regulators, and they cannot get through. So they essentially become illegal.
Can you, just on this MiCA license, so let's say a new startup is thinking about doing something in crypto, either payments or exchange or I don't know, issuing some coins, whatever it is, and they need to get the MiCA license to be a sustainable business. So what does it mean in terms of, let's say, costs? Maybe is there a paid capital requirement? A requirement for people that run the business that is licensed with this license, and some maybe other IT, cybersecurity, things like that. Can you bring very generally how difficult? What are the key requirements to get a license like that?
I think the requirements are aligned now with getting any financial license, really, and you have to take care of this from A to Z. So starting with your kind of management, your governance, your compliance setup, the people that you need there, AML operations, obviously IT developers, IT security. You need a bunch of finance analysts and those people who make it happen. So if you want to launch a business, you have to take care of so many things that you would never think before this licensing. Because if you talk to any crypto bros about governance, internal controls, they're like, what are you talking about?
They don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's not. No, I'm not making money on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you telling this to me? And I think that's a change of perception that they have to go through. That in order to continue making money there, you have to invest. And when we talk roughly about investments, is I think anything between 200,000 to 300,000 euros to kind of prepare and set yourself up for that license. That includes the lawyers, the substance, the vendors, and also all whatnot. And then you have running costs depending on the size of the team. Size of the team, again, depends on the product you're going for. If you have a large retail crypto exchange, that you're going to need many people. We are sticking to what we know best, which is B2B service, where you have less clients, higher volumes.
Right. You don't have B2C at all?
Not currently, no.
Okay.
We are again in the same situation. How do we compete for B2C?
Yeah, super.
The thing in your B2B pricing, it was very interesting that you have like a tier pricing model plus fee from volume, right?
Yeah, often that happens, and you know that's the situation. That's the premium that we are charging clients for being able to kind of cover their complex cases. Something that their banks or legacy banks are not willing to do. They're not willing to invest into that. So it's a premium which is pretty much market standard. One may say, well, that's expensive, you know, charging for SEPA, but we are spending so much money to actually be able to do that. So that's kind of in line.
Can you, just a question off the top of my head, what I often deal with, let's say I have a number of different lending, primarily consumer lending companies, also a crowdfunding investment platform in different jurisdictions. And then you pay from, I don't know, country A to country B outside of European Union, and the money gets stuck. There's all these AML, all this banking payment nightmare. And the thing is, most people don't understand the inner workings of SEPA payments, of correspondent banks, of the various procedures they need to go through to clear your payment. And so it's like a complete black box, basically, when it comes to you make the payment and then it sometimes gets stuck for weeks and so on. Can you, in the crypto, in your B2B payment rails kind of space, explain how does the money move? And are we talking only classic banking rails, or you service also, I don't know, what is it, stablecoin payments and things like that? And on this classic banking rails payments, how does it look like for a person that has no clue about how payments generally happen? If you can kind of, in a simplistic way, explain how a payment happens.
So in a very simplistic way, payment happens when the money moves from account A to account B. But there's a lot of space in between. Yeah, that's the end result. So first of all, there are different payment schemes like SWIFT or SEPA or Target 2, which is an alternative to SWIFT being built. So it depends what scheme is being chosen, what currency are you processing, what kind of, are you direct member of the scheme? Do you have direct access? For example, let's focus on SEPA, which is our everyday thing. When we pay for something, it's a SEPA transfer of euro. So you have to be you have to be member of the SEPA scheme. In order to be member of SEPA scheme, you need to have a license. In order to have a license, you need to have basically shitloads of AML structure, which monitors every single payment, which checks for sanctions, which goes through 1,000 different scenarios of whether this payment could be fraud, whether this payment could be that somebody was scammed. And all that has to happen within 10 seconds from the A account to B. Because when we talk about SEPA Instant, our obligation is to execute payment in 10 seconds, to deliver it and display it on the receiver account. And then there's a series of steps, checks, scenarios that we have to automate and go through within our infrastructure to process that payment. And if we miss one of them and something happens, we are the liable ones. That's why, when you talk about banking nightmare in AML, nobody wants to miss something and be liable. You hear about those tens of millions of fines given to banks or licenses being taken away. It's not an easy business, and liability is really not welcome.
Yeah. Okay.
maybe more practical. What you could do, I think, let's say, okay, we run a business, we get payments with bank transfers, which is SEPA or SWIFT, depending on the currency, and we have card payments. But the card payments are cool because it's instant. You have a meeting with the prospect, B2B client, and he can just pay. But card payments have processing fees. What are your advice for some small businesses from, like starting to like a couple of millions a year? So how they could save money? I heard there was this like Kevin software, something like Kevin payments, where you kind of still pay with a card, but there's like fee was 5 cents or something.
Right.
What is the best way for businesses to save money, to get money instantly from customers?
You're very right about that. But even with card payments, you never get money instantly. And that's just the kind of perception of the payer. Because when you pay with card, it goes through Visa and MasterCard schemes, the two kind of dominant, the monopolies of this. And they are working with acquirers, which are private companies that process this payment. Now, private company, depending on the agreement with the actual merchant that provides you the service, they have rolling settlements over the week. So if you pay now for a product online with your card, they may receive the money in 3 days. So it's not instant at all.
But it shows in the account, but it's like
for you
pending.
it shows. They received a completed transaction.
Yes.
They didn't receive the money yet.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. But with the example that you're talking about, and Kevin, rest in peace. They went down.
No longer,
They're no longer.
Yeah, they're no longer. I think they had some mismanagement, but I don't want to get into that too much. But they were working over open banking setup, which is the answer to your question. How to deliver money quickly or instantly at the lowest cost possible. So now you have SEPA Instant, which I already explained in the Eurozone, which I already explained is delivered to the destination within 10 seconds, which costs cents as a matter of fact, or even below that, depending on what bank are you using for that.
But the customer needs to go into bank account and they make a transfer.
So what Kevin did is they worked with open banking setup where the accounts are directly kind of connected. As a user, which when you want to pay with card, you would have to enter all the details and all whatnot. When you want to use open banking, it leads you to authorize your own bank account, to authorize that payment, which will be received directly by your merchant in the matter of seconds by cheaper price, because merchant is not working with the two monopolies, the Visa and MasterCard. They're getting the money quickly at the fraction of the cost. And open banking companies can even set this up behind card payments. It's possible to kind of tap with your card. There is a mechanism that triggers SEPA Instant instead of you going through acquire. This is new. This is a very complicated scheme, but companies like Kevin, they are working towards the direction. And I think that's only going to become more popular. If you look at market trends in Europe, 10 years ago, the amount of open banking against card payments was, say, 1 to 10. Now it's about 6 to 4.
Which was 10.
So 10 was card payments.
Card payments.
Now card payments is at 6. Open banking payments are at 4. And I believe that trend will turn around. And we will end up in a situation where card payments will be less significant than they are now.
But people will still kind of pay with a card, but the payment will be differently.
It's a habit, or maybe they won't. Maybe for now it's a habit. Like you want to pay quick, as you said. You want to pay instantly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you use card.
Yeah.
But I believe in short future you will be able to as quickly and as instantly pay
access to your account
with SEPA.
Yeah.
Which is going to be more money for the business that you're purchasing at,
so maybe a cheaper
especially
price,
perhaps cheaper price, because they won't have to pay 5% to Visa. Processing fees.
What's the problem if like you're saying, okay, this Visa, MasterCard, a big monopoly. Why people don't start card companies?
It's a very good question.
You mean competitors of Visa?
Yeah, like what? But just make a card. I'm gonna charge you just like 0.9%, not 2.3 or something.
I think in order to do that, you would need to first of all, how do you defeat that monopoly? How do you make your own brand and give it to all banks in the world in order to use it, to use that card so that it's within your scheme? But it's a very topical question. With the recent geopolitical tensions, US against Europe, all the trade war, what European politicians spotted is that basically
an
Visa and
independent-
MasterCard are American companies.
Exactly.
And if
So there needs to be political will.
in case of some crisis, these switch off services to Europe, 60% of population doesn't know how to pay for their services, for the grocery, right? As we mentioned, and you said, card payments are super popular. So now there's an actual discussion about European equivalent of Visa and
native
MasterCard called
payment,
Vero, I think. It was coming out of UK back in the day, but I think now they're trying to restart it somehow.
Interesting.
Super cool. Can we go a little bit to the numbers of your business, if you can share, whatever you can share? Financials, transaction volumes, profitability, number of employees, number of customers, like to give us a sense of the size of the business.
Sure. I think let's start with the last one. We have about 60 people currently working across two offices in Vilnius and Riga. So we are very much Baltic-based business with roots in Latvia, Riga, which where it's where I'm based.
Yeah.
And then we have more of a compliance AML in Lithuania, simply due to the fact that we are licensed by Bank of Lithuania.
Yeah, the EMI license.
The EMI license, exactly. Given our B2B character, our volumes can be surprisingly high. We are doing about 750 million euro of processed volume a month.
Okay.
Which totals to, I think, about around 8 billion annually, which is quite significant.
So solid. Starts with a B. That's the main.
Yeah, it starts with the B. That's that's very important.
Okay.
Now, the space is competitive, as you mentioned. Other EMIs and that offer very similar products. So often it's a fight for the price, and then clients jump from one to another to basically get better conditions. But in terms of the group revenues, what we're looking at currently is about 5.5 million.
I was thinking about the 80,000 per month, but no, it's more than that. Yeah.
It's more than that, yeah. I think monthly we are closing now at around 400. Okay, close to 500,000 actually on a group level.
Yeah.
With the margin level at 20%.
Can you calculate like a percentage from the volume that you process? A percentage of that is your revenue, or is it there's different types of revenue? So you can.
There are different types of revenues. There's volume-based income. There is what we call a sticky revenue, subscription fees, stuff like that. But I think if I had to roughly say, it's about 0.1%, maybe a bit lower, maybe 0.0, like 7 basis points.
Yeah. That's right. Is it profitable, the business?
It is profitable. Yes. Last year we finished with 1 million positive EBITDA. That was pretty much the best year in our history, which we are very, very proud about. And that allowed us to further invest in, first of all, in that local Latvian MiCA license, but also we are expanding now from let's say we've been expanding payment rails, currencies, not to stick to euro and SEPA and so on. We're going to SWIFT. We're getting access to US dollars. We are now working towards open banking payments to get our own license there, to be able to a bit cut out Visa and MasterCard and the cards. But also we are interested in processing card payments, which are still very significant in the market. Yeah. So we're going more towards allowing our clients for the B2C traction. So we continue expanding that infrastructure. We're not going to have retail clients ourselves, but we want to help primarily Baltic companies to have easier access to payments from local and European clients.
I just remember you had a conversation with TransferGo, also a company probably with Dalmans. You were in Lithuania, friend of mine, acquaintance of mine back from university, but their focus is B2C, so they provide B2C kind of like payment corridor. So that's a different story. Last question from my side on the volumes and so on. So valuation wise, would you say the business is like 10 times revenue kind of valuation range, or?
I think on the fiat side, yes, on the EMI side. Yeah. But what boosts the group's valuation is our crypto business as well, which crypto valuation is normally much higher. It's like times maybe 20, times 30. So I think on a group level, it's hard to give a number right now. We haven't yet kind of transferred the last year results into a new valuation, but I think we're looking at tens of millions on the group level for sure.
Nice. Very solid. I have a number of topics that maybe are a bit more interesting for our for our viewers and listeners the like details of how to make payments and so on, maybe one question is, so you deal with a bunch of payments, 700 plus million worth of payments on a monthly basis. You must have had some situations that you have payments that are from fraudsters, some kind of like money laundering, like something that you had to stop. And that was like some kind of a crazy story. Can you share any, like not with specific names, but like have you had instances where there's like some shit going through your system and you had to stop it and it was like scary or wild or something?
I think
drug dealer maybe pushing through.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, luckily, nothing was pushed through, but we obviously have plenty of this kind of situations where
So you see that things like that happen.
Things like that happen on a daily basis, and we are there to help our clients to prevent it. So we somehow and often act on their behalf to stop and tell to our client, look, you don't want this. This we have to return. Yeah. And all sort of situations happen.
What does the client say? Like, hey, that's money. Like,
well, if we. So first, we have to explain to them also, okay, so based on this, we cannot accept that, and you shouldn't either.
Right.
But quite recently, we had a funny situation where our client was testing some new integration on production, and they were using some random, I don't know where did they get those names, but they were using random beneficiary names of the transfer. And they went into some Vladimir Putin payments and stuff like that. Our system were right away, kind of red light. And,
red flags everywhere.
And then I get a call immediately like, hold on, we have some really crazy payments. And then it was like 50 cents and a test.
Oh, okay.
So we kind of
discarded
that and chilled out. But things like that happen. And good it was a test because that means if somebody was really trying to push some illicit payments to us, the system works well.
Would you say that the regulation that you have to comply with from the AML, KYC, source of funds standpoint, checking the payments and the background across various databases and so on, how, not justified, how reasonable is the regulation, the amount of regulation we have in Europe for payments companies? Because you are the ones that really see this regulatory side. You have to comply with it, and with the compliance with the regulation, that's how then you either process the payment or you don't, or you ask more questions and so on. The person or like the company that makes the payment, they just make the payment. They don't know the background, this whole like invisible part of the iceberg. How much do you think it's reasonable, the amount of stuff you have to comply with, versus how much is like over the top, over regulation, unreasonable, and so on?
I think my personal opinion would be that it is over the top currently. And
I think, way over the top.
I think lawmakers just keep kind of showing who can ask for more or who can require more and more and more. Exactly. I think it was all triggered with 9/11 back in the US when all of a sudden the terrorist financing came out and they pushed everybody around to really get serious about this. And to a certain extent, we reached a level by 2010, 2015, but it didn't stop and it keeps going. Now we have plenty of sanction situations and so on. And sanctions keep coming against different countries, people, companies, and it just piles up. It piles up and all responsibility is put on companies like ours. Yes. To make sure that we ask sometimes about ridiculous amount of details and really look into personal situations of a person, receiver of payment, and ask them, but show us that payslip from 2021 to just make sure that you had that money.
Exactly.
And it's never pleasant.
Insane.
So my personal opinion is that it's being exaggerated. It has justification because all that money laundering and terrorist financing was happening and is happening. So the law is there to prevent it and those requirements are there. But sometimes it's really much. And I think the society doesn't really fully understand why we have to torture them about that.
Yeah. Cool.
How many B2B clients do you currently have as customers?
I think we have roughly around 300, 350.
What are maybe some of the things that you have done to actually kind of acquire them, or best strategies, tactics? Because I can imagine all of them actually have a service right now and you're kind of like switching them, getting them to switch.
Well, sell.
How big is the sales team?
The sales team is about 7 people right now.
Yeah.
And my background is in sales. And basically at the time when your competition is strong and your service isn't unique, you have to really hustle in terms of sales. You have to go there, you have to meet them, you have to understand what's their problem, how can you make it a little bit better, convince them that, and provide personalized service. And I think for me, throughout my career, kind of personal approach and personal service in sales is the difference maker. Because, on a human level, and for decision makers, for them, if I pay 5 cents more for that payment, that won't change my world. But if there is a guy who ensures stability, uptime, and it's a nice guy and he's there available for you, I think that really matters. So we have done a lot of sales through relationships and network. In B2B, it's very different when you compare it to retail sales, where you invest in online marketing, you're out there, brand identity, and so on. For B2B, it's basically who do you know, how can you get to know them, which are the places, which kind of events, places, parties you attend to meet the right people and grow these connections. And through connections and through good service and positive experience for clients, you're being recommended and you grow your network and you grow your customer base. So we've been doing that for years, and it really works out for us.
So basically, it's like attending events, because I saw on your website you're also like very kind of showing where you're going to be on events, right? Like the next event in Latvia is this Unblock conference, right?
That's right. Now we have this comfort that we show it because there are people who want to meet us. Back in the day, maybe we would show it to say we will be there and we'll be trying to find you. Now we are kind of like, we're there, reach out, let's set up a meeting, whether it's for existing or new client. And
who are your biggest competitors, the ones that you kind of most aspire to, let's say in Europe?
In terms of the B2B space, especially in that route industry, I think it always used to be BCB payments, which is an equivalent of Nexpay, originated from the UK. I think they were now quite well rooted in Europe, in continental Europe as well. So we were kind of looking up at them, thinking that, okay, well, in terms of crypto B2B payments, they are pretty good.
Right.
So that would be the one. But then we do compete with many EMIs. Now I think crypto is normalized, more or less. So many of them say, okay, well, if they're doing it, we can do it as well. So the number of other EMIs that are in Lithuania or in Europe, this is our competition essentially.
Okay, can we talk about stablecoins? It's like, I mean, everybody in the past spoke about tokenization, this and that, tokenization everywhere, and then now it's all about stablecoins. Stablecoins are now the new way of making payments. My question to you is, so do you think that stablecoins will continue growing in popularity and will become at some point like an actual way of how regular customers, companies, and consumers will actually make payments, or it will be like remain a niche because there's not a lot of people that own stablecoins and even less people that pay each other in stablecoins? So that's the question, like, how do you see the industry evolving? And then maybe a question about like stablecoin yields. For example, I had a company that approached me and they have issued their own stablecoin, and the way they compete with Tether and other big stablecoin issuers is they provide a higher yield to the investors that buy their stablecoin. The way they get this yield, in the past they were doing some crypto trading. Now they're looking for real world assets in which they can put in the money. Let's say real estate. I don't know. You issue a stablecoin, you get the money, you put the money into real estate. Real estate gives you rental yield, and this rental yield you pass on to your stablecoin investors, for example. Do you believe in such structures, schemes for stablecoins, or do you think there will be basically one or two these massive Tether type companies that will take all the market?
Let's start with the first one. I think I'll divide it into, again, two categories. When you think about payments for goods, for services by stablecoins in Europe, I have a bit of a controversial take on that, because I don't think that's going to become dominant. We've had an example of moving money within 10 seconds from one account to another. Now, in terms of SEPA Instant, there is no limitation of what amount you can move. There is no. It used to be 100,000. Now,
so you're competing
it's
with
no
a
more.
great system.
So basically, how stablecoins become better than this for payments within Europe, where you need to collect certain amount of blockchain confirmations? It does take more than 10 seconds to make that payment, and you don't risk FX basically between euro and the stablecoin. You're not risking on currency exchange. So I think euro SEPA Instant is simply better. One thing that you may want to pay attention to is if somebody is a bit crazy, like, okay, I don't want government or tag institutions to see this, well, they're in for a surprise because they already see it. And there is quite a decent understanding of control by tax authorities or regulators on what's happening on blockchain. It's not anonymous anymore. So this anonymity was one of the main factors why often people would go for stablecoins, or the speed of transactions, or the successful delivery. Now they are kind of diminished. So I think within Europe, that's going to be very difficult for stablecoins. When we think about cross-continental payments, when you need to send funds,
this is my problem, because I need to send money to Mexico, to Malaysia, many different places.
And I think that's where the use case will really become good, because companies who trade between Europe and Asia, let's say, they are forced, they don't have an instant payment scheme. They are forced to basically go through old school system called SWIFT. Half dozen of different correspondent banks who may or may not like your payment, without complete understanding who are you, what are you paying for, and who's the receiver. So you're really at mercy of some random banks. And that's the situation where you may want to choose to convert your euro into stablecoin and pay it to your Malaysian supplier, who will receive it basically in a couple of minutes, without unnecessary
clear
banks.
Business case. Are there companies doing this already or not?
Well, we are doing that as well on the crypto company.
Okay.
So we help local companies to use stablecoins for payments for a few things, for paying for goods outside of Europe primarily, but also for managing their own treasury. If you're
managing my own treasury. Can I just interrupt? So let's say I have a company in Latvia. It's my treasury company, or even the UAE rather. Let's say two options: Latvia or UAE, and then I have a non-European, basically, I don't know, whatever, Asian or LATAM company of that belongs to my holding, and I therefore need to move money from a European account over to Asia. So if I go to you, open an account with you, convert euros to, I don't know, some euro stablecoin, and then make that payment to an account of my Asian company that has an account with you in stablecoin. So would that work? Can I do that? Can you open an account for my Malaysian company?
We don't discriminate the jurisdiction, except probably certain countries that we don't want to touch. But in principle, it works like that, as you described. You as for example, Malaysian, or let's say you have your holding company in UAE, where you have certain treasury that has payment flows with daughter companies across the globe. So if you're moving fiat, whether it's local dirhams or euro or dollars, it's going to take days before your daughter entity will receive it. So if you hold your funds in stablecoins that are pegged to, let's say, dollar, like USDC, you are able to move these funds to your daughter companies in matter of minutes. But daughter companies only have to ensure they have infrastructure to receive it and convert it back to local currency. So basically, from Dubai, you're sending your USDC to, say, Malaysia, converting to local currency, paying for what you need to pay.
Yeah, so converting to the local currency in Malaysia, is that not going to kill the whole business case?
I think we would be surprised to see how progressive on that front are Southeast Asian countries. I think they have high tolerance for stablecoins. So I think that would work.
Okay, let's talk about it offline because this is an actual thing that I need to do, and I have a lot of payments.
Let's do
this.
it.
Private consultation, like start now.
No, not consult. Like I mean, maybe you can help us. Okay, cool. Stablecoins. So that one was the adaption, and the second question was about yield. Do you think it's a good idea to, I don't know, for a new crypto company to issue their own stablecoin off the back of this massive hype, try to create some yield, or that's all kind of bullshit and eventually will fall away?
Again, maybe slightly controversial take for somebody dealing with crypto business, but do you recall NFTs?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, do you still remember them? 'Cause
Yeah,
most
but
people
I mean,
don't.
I thought it's all dung. Like it's some weird stuff.
It's that. Well, I think for a temporary novelty, this is working. Same with tokenization. On one hand, it's great because you can tokenize many things: real estate, forest. You can tokenize diamonds in Thailand and sell them in Europe. But in the end, is there demand for it, and what's the added value for it? So for the tokenization per se, I would say you can already buy some certificate for ownership of different things. When you buy gold or silver, you buy it online.
Yeah.
You
it's
don't buy
perfectly
it
fine.
physically. You have a piece of paper that shows you that you theoretically own a certain amount of it.
Yeah.
And with token, you basically have a similar promise, with the difference that it's on blockchain. So it's the kind of, that's cool because it's on blockchain. When it comes to staking, if it's well constructed and the yield is attractive, the stablecoin is, you're sure it's pegged to let's say dollars or euro, and you're not exposed too much in terms of FX. Yes, you can make some money. And I think for the time being, before it's being somehow regulated or diminished, I would say could try with small amount.
Right.
But it really all depends on what kind of coins and kind of smart contracts we're talking about. Because some of them can depeg, and then you will lose your value. You will get your percentage in that coin, but that coin will be not worth much.
Yeah.
So there is also the risks included in this. And when you talk about different stable coins and hegemony of Tether or Circle, I mean, it's similar with Visa and MasterCard, isn't it? It's two giants that have the whole market currently. And there are many attempts now in Europe for companies to create their own stablecoin, issue their coin. But if I have issued coin to our clients, what they will do with that? They cannot pay this to anyone else. It's only us who accept it.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a loyalty token, I would call it,
Yeah,
rather than
token,
really means of payment. So it's unfortunate to kind of tolerate this hegemony, but for the time being, I don't see a big competitor to Tether or Circle.
What's going on with the
Makes sense.
AI space? So a lot of like these Shopify big platforms that provide web services, no, they are like, I guess many reports or trend articles are like, hey, AI is gonna cut their business because they're gonna lose customers because people can do it with vibe coding or using some tools. Is there something like that also happening in your space, or what's kind of the threat? Is there a threat?
Well, the threat is for some kind of areas of our company to be operated by AI. In terms of development, some operations and stuff for stuff. But overall,
But for you, it's an opportunity. You can cut costs.
for us, it's an opportunity, yes, to optimize, and definitely we're going towards that. We're actually using an AI-based library where we can drop in all sort of policies, statistics, documents, customer data. It's locally hosted, and then we can basically see patterns, analyze very, very quickly. But speaking of whether it's a threat for our business, well, luckily, AI is currently not able to go to a central bank, ask for a license, and run payments itself. So when that happens, when the cyborgs are running around, then we're out of business.
So you're very safe, I guess, right? It's like super kind of
for the time being, I would say yes. But this is an ongoing development, and I think within a decade, we may not be safe anymore, or maybe sooner. The technology is developing, so could there be another AI run payment network that will basically make our payments obsolete? Yes, why not? Just the question why and when, or maybe rather when than why.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know the name, but there was black coding or something that EMIs do in order to make incompliant or like not fraudulent, but like payments that would otherwise not be able to be processed to make them look like they're legit. So let's say, I don't know, unlicensed gambling websites, porn, things like that, that use EMIs in order to accept payments from customers and in order to be able to pay to their providers. And they use EMIs, and these EMIs somehow, I don't know, make these payments look into the system as if they're not payments related to, I don't know, porn, for example. You know what I'm talking about? This coding, something changing basically the description of the payment.
I think it's called Misscoding.
Misscoding, yeah?
That's right.
Okay. Can you explain what it is?
It's a very deep topic overall.
I know.
It's basically how certain industries run and are able to receive payments who are not able to do it otherwise. And we are not dealing with that kind of stuff. And our job is to make sure that any payment is for what we see, we believe it is, or it should be. So I think you're talking about a situation where there is some, say, I don't know, illegal gambling casino who wants to collect payments of their clients, and they pretend, and their website, they pretend to be selling, I don't know, some skins or some goods or some other stuff like that. So our job is to basically be able to detect and stop if we see that this business isn't doing what we think they're doing. But I think it's more of a problem for those working exactly card payments, some acquirers, and there's different views on that, whether Visa and MasterCard is aware of this, whether, somebody's getting a cut there or not.
But you probably know there must be EMIs that are specifically focused on this. Is their bread and butter, so to speak, to make these miscode the payments and get paid for that, and they know very well that what they're doing, and it's like, I guess it's illegal, right? But that's their business model. Are there payment companies that kind of like focus on that?
I think we're talking about the dark corner of payment institutions, because
we're going too dark.
No,
but we like that.
Look, we like that. By default, no, it's illegal. You don't do that. Sure. And if you do that, you're going to lose your license and
go to jail,
going to pay fines, go to jail, and do all.
But do they need license?
Of course, you need license. Yes. So it's again their responsibility not to do this kind of stuff, and this is like, it's becoming now an ethical question,
right?
Right,
sure.
You're getting a license for something, to do something in a particular correct way, and on purpose you're doing something else, so that's fraud.
Okay.
But I believe that in the dark corners of their industry there's all sort of players, and there are players who also take advantage of that because there is demand, and they potentially make a lot of money.
One more example, right? There are websites that sell peptides. Peptides are like this kind of, like a supplement, a little bit stronger supplement. But it's like, generally, if they're testing on animals, you can buy it, but no website has clear payments for that. They all have this weird payment styles where you actually don't pay for peptide, you pay for something else, and you get the peptide.
So that's how that scheme works, I guess.
But why is it like that? Like,
because probably nobody will be happy to run a payment for peptide.
Exactly, because peptide selling business online probably is illegal.
To check
unless you are licensed, which is very heavy
very heavy and
difficult. But because what Nick said, so as I understand, very high level, you have supplements. And supplements, because even if you lie about the supplements and if it's not true, etc., it's not really harmful to health, and that's why the supplements industry is so big, because it's so lightly regulated from an ad perspective, because it doesn't pose material health risks. Then you have the peptides in terms of their impact, and peptides is something between, as you said, supplements and steroids, right? And I would imagine, but I'm guessing here, speculating that peptides has a far more serious health impact. So if you misrepresent the impact of the peptide, etc., that's a bigger health danger to the consumer. Hence, you need to be more heavily regulated, and hence it's more likely that there are companies that are not regulated, gray area, illegally doing, but they need to have the payments serviced. And once you touch it, you're under risk if you as a payment service touch these.
Because you're basically,
and hence there's these workarounds.
You're processing payment for something that doesn't have the proper license for it. But I wouldn't narrow it down only to EMIs. I think when you talk about this kind of scammy websites and this kind of flows, they are only looking they're looking to exploit any financial institution, and they pretend that they're somebody else. I think it's as important for EMIs as it is for banks and any other players to kind of be aware of this. And I can imagine that banks are getting similar, double the amount of this kind of attempts, which they have to protect themselves from.
Okay, one example, like OnlyFans. Who processes payments for OnlyFans?
I know the exact company, to be honest. I can't tell, but I know.
You know it?
In Europe, yes, I know.
But is it legal?
I'll tell you.
Not legal?
It's legal. Of course, it's legal. It is legal.
That's legal, but that's something that the kind of, not gray area, but nobody really wants to be loud about it.
Man, I read this article, I think in FT, about the UK, specifically about OnlyFans. OnlyFans is a UK-based company. It's one of the wildly most successful call it tech companies.
It is a tech company.
It is a tech company, because the solution for them is tech. And these owners and founders and top management, they don't get invited to all these round discussion groups when legislation is being formed and so on. They're not being kind of publicly taken into account because it's a moral issue in terms of optics of how it looks like publicly for politicians and so on. But it is a legal business. It's a fucking profit generating monster. That's what it is. And you can process the payments. I mean, would you not want to have OnlyFans as your client? Of course you would.
Show the numbers of OnlyFans.
I think they would be a significant client for us.
Of course, I mean,
check out the revenue from 270 to 7.2.
No, it's crazy. Yeah. Look, it's close to $1 billion net profit.
Look, if you can hunt down that kind of whale, I think everybody would be, yes, we want it. I think here the question is different, and you were touching upon that. It's ethical question, whether or not somebody wants to deal with that and what are the optics. But
when you start making fuckloads of money, then the optics and ethics it's a very relative thing. It starts moving very quickly.
I look at this adult industry as kind of elephant in the room.
Right.
Kind of everybody
knows there's money.
Knows this, that most of us are kind of users to a certain extent, but nobody wants to talk about it or say it out loud.
I can admit I watch porn. I mean, no problem.
I think this is the best outcome of this.
This is the tagline of the episode. Martins watches porn.
And we started the episode of we saying to you we need to get naked to make a photo.
This is going wrong now, too deep.
You warned me it's going to happen afterwards, so I think that's an introduction to it.
It was after.
But let's say, could you say, I don't know, on camera, that there's a legally sound porn business? Of course, they all have some gray areas and all this stuff, right? But they're vetting their videos and so on and so forth. And it's a big business. Would you want them as your customer?
Look, we are ethical agnostic business providers. So the fact that somebody may have an opinion about porn doesn't mean it makes it illegal. So we divide businesses.
I like the term.
In legal businesses,
ethically and agnostic.
Illegal businesses.
Right.
Exactly. If it's legal, then nothing prevents us from dealing with that, unless we admit to ourselves, look, it's legal, it's all fine, but we don't have enough expertise to know what kind of risks are within the industry, and we are not capable of fully covering all the questions. And in adult industry, maybe for OnlyFans that's fine, but otherwise there's a lot of things that you don't always have full control. And if it's some lesser companies from corners of the world, you don't know whether people are forced to do stuff, whether there is some human trafficking behind it. So it is a tricky one. That's why probably they.
It's a very good point.
And AI said it's legal, yes, easy, no, but it's legal.
Yeah, I agree. It's legal, but not easy.
Not easy.
Cool. That we discussed. Oh, right. I wanted to end up, at least from my side, about your story overall. I mean, you're not Latvian, but you are here already living for 12 years. You have super great, fluent Latvian, which we respect very much, because for Latvians to see people come to our country and learn this very opaque language is it's rare, right? Especially given all the fucking Russian-speaking people we have and never learned anything in 70 years. Tell us about your background. Like, where are you from? Why did you come to Latvia? How it all evolved?
All right, it's quite a story. myself, I'm from Poland, even though my name and surname doesn't sound very Polish. So I'm half Polish, half Algerian. Actually, my father is from Algeria, but I was
wow.
born and raised in Poland.
Yeah, because you look
not Nigeria, Algeria.
Algeria. Yeah,
White face.
Africa.
Yes, North Africa, Maghreb
North
countries. And but I was born and raised in Poland, so I consider myself Polish. I don't have much connection really with the other part, except obviously I have good connection with my father. But I was I'm from southern Poland, and I was studying. Doing an economics program at University of Economics in Krakow. And then I went for an exchange to France to business school in Normandy, where I met a very sleek Latvian lady that I was very impressed with, who was after the year where we spent during that double diploma program, where I was graduating, and she had one more year to go in Riga. So I was basically put in front of a question. Do you want to continue that adventure and see some northern small country you would never think of before that, or go back to Poland?
Right.
And I was like,
so Normandy was where?
It's in northwest of France.
France. Okay, France. Mm-hmm.
So it was an easy choice for me. As a 22 years old. Okay, let's go to Riga. And I remember my first trip to Riga. I hitchhiked all the way from Krakow to Riga. It took me 48 hours.
Hitchhike.
I was arrested.
It's like this?
It's like this. I was arrested on the way in Białystok.
Really? In Lithuania?
Over the night in Poland. It's like
Poland. Yeah.
Why were you arrested?
I was refusing to leave a train station for the night. It was middle of winter, so that's why.
What?
So I was put in cell in a kind of friendly way, without really registering it that much as an official arrest. But they basically locked me down.
Right.
Locked me up for the night. And that's how I reached Latvia for the first time. And I remember I was welcomed by my currently my wife's father with a glass of Latvia's balsam, which was the original one. And at the time I was like, I had to make a good face to the game, but it was disgusting. Although the Upeni one is perfect. Yeah. It's so much better. So that's 12 years ago, basically. So ever since I've been living here, it's my home now. And I really kind of made this as my own country. So learning Latvian was for me, was critical. Like if you want to live here, you better do it. It's very, very useful. Nice. Plus, it is a respect to the local people, to my Latvian part of my family now that I speak the language they do.
Amazing. That's amazing. By the way, I have a very close, good friend from Slovakia originally. He's in Latvia already for, I guess, also 10 plus years, for sure, maybe 12.
Is it Gabriel?
Yeah.
We know each other.
Ah, great. Excellent. You have similar, Gabo.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And he works, he's not running, but he works for Decta, which is a payments company.
Which is our neighbor, and because they're based in next office. But
you're a competitor with Decta, no?
No, they're doing card processing. So we kind of are in the same area, but we could actually cooperate rather than compete, I would say.
Nice, cool.
Let's go. Maybe the last thing is, Sofian, what have we not asked you that we should have asked you?
What have you not asked me that you should have asked me?
Mind-bending question.
It is a good question. I think you should have asked me about. Damn it, that's difficult. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
We did a good job.
You did a good job. Yeah, you actually. I was surprised how well versed you are on these different areas of the payments business.
It's Mattis.
I understand, but it was very, very good particular questions. Cool. I like it. What you didn't ask me perhaps is what else I'm doing outside of dealing with payments.
Good.
Oh.
What are you doing?
I do a lot of different sports here locally.
Nice.
I think my primary sport coming from Poland is football. I spent 6 years playing for the in Latvia, in second league in Latvia.
I saw in your LinkedIn.
Right. So I had actually some crazy stories with that, where journalists from Poland would come to interview me as the person who played the most registered official football games in Latvian leagues out of any Poles in the world. Okay. That's a fun fact.
That's a good
So football is primarily what you do?
Football, tennis, squash, it's my kind of...
okay.
It's my go-to.
Have you tried this paddle? This new sport?
I have tried.
We will be sponsors of the biggest paddle court in Latvia soon.
When it's going to be open? The paddle court?
2 months or something like that.
It's nice because many people without preparation and experience can do it. I think it's easier than squash or tennis, so it makes it available to people.
So you don't do enduro, no? You want to do enduro? Enduro bikes? You
Or
want to try?
CrossFit? You want to do CrossFit?
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah?
Actually, no. I spend so much time on two wheels. What I love the most in my daily routine during summer is riding Vespa around Riga. I do about, I think, close to 5,000 kilometers over every summer season just riding around here.
With Vespa?
Yeah. So if you see some guy on a blue Vespa running around, driving around, it's me.
So I'll invite you to our electric enduro rides because my nephew, my brother's son, he's got a Stark bikes. I don't know if you call this, if you have heard of this brand Stark, which is electric enduro bikes. So we have a number of electric enduro bikes, and he rents them out, and they go for tours in Latvia and across Europe. And what's cool with the electric bikes is there's basically, just brakes and revving and gas, and you don't need to figure out first gear, second, etc. So it's much easier to learn, very quick. And we have training all around Riga, so I'll invite you to something like that.
I'm looking forward. Maybe then I'll switch from Vespa to that.
I think you will love it.
Not so good on asphalt, I guess.
If you like sports and so on, you will love it.
Yeah, perfect.
Cool,
man. That's that.
Thank you for coming. And with that, we cement ourselves in the internet history.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for having me.